The spectacular horizon transforms into a brilliant apricot hue, a magnificent celestial painting entirely ignored by you. Streaks of magenta stretch broadly across the stratospheric dome, while you stare relentlessly at your glowing mobile phone.
The clouds are burning with an incredibly vivid fiery pink,
but you are far too distracted to even pause and think. A masterpiece of nature occurring right above our heads.
Wow.
We stubbornly focus on our foolish arguments instead,
Sitting oblivious upon the splintered wooden back porch,
while the evening sky lights a magnificent atmospheric torch. I complain bitterly about the monotonous events of my day,
letting this unparalleled visual phenomenon completely slip away.
The watercolor canvas shifts into a deep, majestic violet, a breathtaking natural display that remains entirely silent. We squander the beautiful moment searching for a flaw,
failing to appreciate this twilight with appropriate awe.
Brilliant colors fading into the gray, another unappreciated squandered day. Blind to the majestic painted sky, watching the glorious daylight die, experiencing these tragically wasted sunsets, accumulating a mountain of visual regrets. The universe offers a spectacularly free show, but our ungrateful heads are tilted far too low, ignoring the magnificent painted atmosphere, refusing to acknowledge the beauty right here. A glorious panorama that we utterly neglect, failing to show the twilight its proper respect.
The celestial artist slowly packs away that cosmic brush as the neighborhood descends into a deeply ignorant hush.
I pace furiously across the incredibly narrow backyard lawn,
complaining about a trivial problem since the early dawn.
The golden hour provides a highly flattering, gorgeous light, but my pessimistic attitude ruins the spectacular sight. I prioritize my grievances over the phenomenal view,
missing the miraculous transition from the orange to the blue.
The final rays of daylight catch the leaves on the oak tree, a remarkably stunning spectacle that I entirely fail to see. I am too busy drafting a highly vindictive, angry text, constantly worrying about whatever disaster happens next.
The magnificent gradients dissolve into a dark and navy.
My emotional state remains incredibly turbulent and wavy.
We sacrifice the
Momentary glimpse of absolute perfection for a highly unnecessary, incredibly toxic deflection. Brilliant colors fading into the gray, another unappreciated squandered day. Blind to the majestic painted sky, watching the glorious daylight die, experiencing these tragically wasted sunsets, accumulating a mountain of visual regrets. The universe offers a spectacularly free show, but our ungrateful heads are tilted far too low, ignoring the magnificent painted atmosphere, refusing to acknowledge the beauty right here. A glorious panorama that we utterly neglect, failing to show the twilight its proper respect. moment of the year. Open your eyes and observe the display before the darkness takes it all away.
Orange, yellow, purple, black. Look up, never back.
Experiencing these tragically wasted sunsets, accumulating a mountain of visual regrets. The universe offers a spectacularly free show, but our ungrateful heads are tilted far too low, ignoring the magnificent painted atmosphere, refusing to acknowledge the beauty right here. A glorious panorama that we utterly neglect, failing to show the twilight its proper respect. The sky is dark, mist marked, stars appear. We are blind here. The monsoon moisture heavily blankets the entire coastal land. A suffocating humidity that I can barely manage to withstand. I am fanning myself frantically with a massive woven palm leaf, searching desperately for some sort of atmospheric relief.
My linen garments cling uncomfortably
To my perspiring skin,
a meteorological
battle that I am completely failing to win.
the thermometer registers an incredibly
Punishing, brutal degree, trapping my exhausted body beside the motionless flat sea.
The jungle canopy traps the sweltering, oppressive heat below, causing my physical movements to
Come unbelievably slow.
I recline heavily onto the woven rattan,
Creaking lounge chair,
struggling to inhale the incredibly dense, unmoving night air. The ceiling fan rotates with a completely pathetic, sluggish pace,
providing absolutely zero comfort to my terribly flushed face. A profound lethargy infiltrates my completely drained muscles, while the dense foliage outside barely even manages to rustle. The barometer refuses to properly drop. The overwhelming perspiration will not stop. A deeply exhausting equatorial fatigue, entering a highly uncomfortable league. Exhaling these heavily burdened tropical sighs, watching the mirage dance before my very eyes. A profoundly languid, incredibly sluggish state, accepting this sweltering, humid, sticky fate. The atmosphere is incredibly thick and dense, overwhelming every single biological sense. Breathing heavily under the mosquito netting, enduring this unbelievably exhausting setting.
The condensation heavily fogs the surface of the drinking glass, waiting for this terrible, unbearable heat wave to finally pass. I lack the necessary energy to even formulate a proper thought, caught entirely in the humid trap that the equator brought. The exotic insects buzz loudly in a highly monotonous drone. I am melting completely upon this sweltering tropical throat. Even the shadows provide absolutely no drop in temperature, enduring this deeply agonizing climatic torture.
My vocabulary is reduced to a series of exhausted, heavy groans. The extreme warmth penetrates entirely into my aching bones.
I sip the lukewarm water from a highly condensed plastic jug,
feeling like a squashed, entirely defeated, lethargic bug.
A highly oppressive stagnation dominates the entire village. A
every ounce of motivation from my deeply drained anatomy. A highly sluggish, wonderfully exhausting sultry tragedy. The barometer refuses to properly drop. The overwhelming perspiration will not stop. A deeply exhausting equatorial fatigue, entering a highly uncomfortable league, exhaling these heavily burdened tropical sighs, watching the mirage dance before my very eyes. A profoundly languid, incredibly sluggish state, accepting this sweltering, humid, sticky fate. The atmosphere is incredibly thick and dense, overwhelming every single biological sense. Breathing heavily under the mosquito netting, enduring this unbelievably exhausting setting. Melting groove, the equatorial sun baked our bodies dry, leaving us with nothing but this heavy sigh. Breathe in, too hot, breathe out, give up, wipe brow, rest now. Exhaling these heavily burdened tropical sighs, watching the mirage dance before my very eyes. A profoundly languid, incredibly sluggish state, accepting the sweltering, humid, sticky fate. The atmosphere is incredibly thick and dense, overwhelming every single biological sense. Breathing heavily under the mosquito netting, enduring this unbelievably exhausting setting. Too exhausted, mind is lost. Human night, lose the fight. Flipping through the cardboard sleeves inside the thrift boutique, searching for an obscure, incredibly rare antique. The artwork on the cover is faded yellow and torn, a forgotten masterpiece from before we were even born. I pulled the black disc gently from its paper sleeve, discovering a musical treasure that I can barely believe. The format is completely analog, wonderfully authentic, a tangible piece of history, beautifully photogenic.
I wipe the surface gently with a velvet cleaning pad, rescuing the best auditory experience I ever had. Placing the person carefully onto the rotating platter, watching the circular motion is all that really matters.
The needle drops downward into the microscopic trench, releasing a glorious sound that manages to thoroughly quench my immense thirst for an old school traditional beat. A remarkably warm sensation radiating down the street. Revolution spinning at 45, keeping the ancestral voices alive, spiraling inward toward the center label, vibrating across the wooden table. Listening to this dusty vinyl spin, letting the authentic nostalgia begin, hissing gently in the background space, a beautifully unpolished retrograde. The grooves contain a myriad of secrets, a classic pressing that everyone respects, crackling loudly with every rotation, a timeless analog infatuation.
The skips slightly over a tiny surface scratch, but the underlying melody is impossible to match. I read the liner notes printed on the back cover, learning about the studio musicians and the tragic lover who inspired the lyricist to write this specific tune. Recorded under the glow of a 1960s moon, the fidelity is raw, unfiltered, and intensely real, capturing exactly how the original performers feel.
We sit cross-legged on the shag carpet floor, enjoying the ambience and asking for nothing more. The turntable mechanism hums with the quiet drive, making the apartment feel magically alive. A warm crackle punctuates the quiet instrumental break, a charming imperfection that digital audio cannot fake. I flip the record over to experience side B, sharing this vintage auditory journey exclusively with me. Revolution spinning at 45, keeping the ancestral voices alive, spiraling inward toward the center label, vibrating across the wooden table, listening to this dusty vinyl spin, letting the authentic nostalgia begin, hissing gently in the background space, a beautifully unpolished retro grace. The grooves contain a myriad of secrets, a classic pressing that everyone respects, crackling loudly with every rotation, a timeless analog infatuation. Preserve the wax, protect the groove, watch the stylus effortlessly move, a physical medium that will endure, an auditory experience, raw and pure. Spin around, catch the sound, side A, press play, hiss and pop. Do not stop listening to this dusty vinyl spin, letting the authentic nostalgia begin, hissing gently in the background space, a beautifully unpolished retro grace. The grooves contain a myriad of secrets, a classic pressing that everyone respects, crackling loudly with every rotation, a timeless analog infatuation. The needle lifts, the music shifts, static remains, vintage gains. Standing in the center of an entirely abandoned estate, a massive architectural wonder that suffered a terrible fate. The marble floors are absolutely bare and brutally cold, reflecting the lonely story that has never been told. I shout my vocalizers, seasons up toward the vaulted ceiling, generating a deeply uncomfortable, isolated feeling. The acoustics magnify every single solitary breath, a massive empty mansion simulating the quiet of death.
My leather boots tap loudly across the grand foyer, creating a terrifying noise that I constantly abhor. There is absolutely zero furniture to absorb the sound, the most deserted interior to ever be found. I call out your specific name into the spiral
traveling stairwell, trapped completely inside this vacant, luxurious hell. The sound waves bounce against the elaborate plaster molding, revealing the absolute emptiness that this house is holding. Rebounding off the completely bare walls, traveling down the terrifyingly vast halls, a vacuum of human presence and warmth, facing the terribly lonely quiet storm. Listening to these haunting hollow echoes, following everywhere the lonely spirit goes, a reverberating reminder of the empty space haunting this magnificently deserted place. The amplitude multiplies in the massive room, a booming declaration of our quiet doom. We are utterly surrounded by the returning noise. The architecture entirely destroys our poise. The crystal chandelier trembles from the acoustic shock. I stare intensely at the broken stationary clock. My whispered apologies travel all the way upstairs. Nobody in this gigantic unfurnished palace cares. The frequencies collide and merge into a ghostly hum, waiting for the promised visitors who will never come. I clap my hands just to measure the terrible delay, watching the sonic energy slowly deteriorate away. The grand ballroom is entirely devoid of any guests, putting my psychological endurance to the greatest tests. I sing a mournful lullaby into the dining corridor. The volume feels 10 times louder than it was before. The reflection of the tone is flawlessly precise, a terrifyingly accurate acoustic device. We cannot hide from the sounds that we create inside this massive, horrifyingly empty real estate. Rebounding off the completely bare walls, traveling down the terrifyingly vast halls, a vacuum of human presence and warmth, facing the terribly lonely quiet storm. Listening to these haunting hollow echoes, following everywhere the lonely spirit goes, a reverberating reminder of the empty space haunting this magnificently deserted place. The amplitude multiplies in the massive room, a booming declaration of our quiet doom. We are utterly surrounded by the returning noise. The architecture entirely destroys our poise. The decibels finally drop down to zero. There is no rescue and absolutely no hero. Shout out, hear it bounce, every word, every ounce, coming back, fade to black. Listening to these haunting hollow echoes, following everywhere the lonely spirit goes, a reverberating reminder of the empty space haunting this magnificently deserted place. The amplitude multiplies in the massive room, a booming declaration of our quiet doom. We are utterly surrounded by the returning noise. The architecture entirely destroys our poise. Nothing is there, just empty air. Close the door, speak no more. poises his baton with an elegant flair, commanding the attention of the deeply haunted air. The violinist drags his bow across the weeping strings, summoning the phantom that the auditorium brings. I sit frozen inside the velvet theatrical balcony, witnessing this deeply tragic musical alchemy. The sheet music is written entirely in dark ink, pushing the audience to the absolute terrifying brink. The grand piano strikes a deeply dissonant, a masterpiece composed for the underworld's lord. The classical musicians wear their formal black attire, playing the instruments with a deeply gothic fire. The acoustic resonance vibrates the cathedral walls, echoing loudly down the monumental marble halls. A highly sophisticated, orchestrated kind of doom filling every corner of this magnificent grand room. The choir sings a terrifying Latin chant, a haunting melody they heavily implant. The overture builds an incredible suspense, a highly theatrical musical defense, composing this magnificently dark symphony, a masterpiece of absolute sheer agony. The woodwinds howl a deeply tragic note, the saddest requiem that anyone ever wrote, conducting the ensemble of pure despair, a monumental tragedy hanging in the air. The crescendo reaches a highly violent peak, making the terrified listeners incredibly weak. The pumble trembles like an earthquake below, providing the foundation for this macabre show. I turn the pages of the incredibly ancient score, demanding that the string section gives me more. The viola weeps a deeply melancholic phrase, trapping the listeners inside an acoustic maze. A highly classical interpretation of sheer grief, offering absolutely zero psychological relief. The soprano unleashes a devastating operatic wail, making the entire congregation grow incredibly pale. A vocal performance that completely shatters glass, watching the monumental lost till tragedy pass. The harpist plucks the strings with the bloody finger, allowing the terrifying vibrations to heavily linger. We applaud the conductor with a standing ovation, celebrating this deeply morbid musical creation. The choir sings a terrifying Latin chant, oh, a haunting melody they heavily implant. The overture builds an incredible suspense, a highly theatrical musical defense, composing this magnificently dark symphony, a masterpiece of absolute sheer agony. The woodwinds howl a deeply tragic note, the saddest requiem that anyone ever wrote, conducting the ensemble of pure despair, a monumental tragedy hanging in the air. Crescendo reaches a highly violent peak, making the terrified listeners incredibly weak. Tragic, a deeply tragic, a deeply tragic. Raise baton, choir on strings attack, fade to black, hold the breath, sing of death, composing this magnificently dark symphony, a masterpiece of absolute sheer agony. The woodwinds howl a deeply tragic note, is a highly violent peak, making the terrified listeners incredibly weak. The curtain falls, silence in the halls, the maestro leaves. The audience grieves. The maestro raises his baton with an elegant flair, commanding the attention of the deeply haunted air. The violinist drags his bow across the weeping strings, summoning the phantom that the auditorium brings. I sit frozen inside the velvet theatrical balcony, witnessing this deeply tragic musical alchemy. The sheet music is written entirely in dark ink, pushing the audience to the absolute terrifying brink. The grand piano strikes a deeply dissonant chord, a masterpiece composed for the underworld's lord. The classical musicians wear their formal black attire, playing the instruments with a deeply gothic fire. The acoustic resonance vibrates the cathedral walls, echoing loudly down the monumental marble halls. A highly sophisticated, orchestrated kind of doom, filling every corner of this magnificent. Of an entirely abandoned estate, a massive architectural wonder that suffered a terrible fate. The marble floors are absolutely bare and brutally cold, reflecting the lonely story that has never been told.
I shout, my vocal lasers easing up toward the vaulted ceiling, generating a deeply uncomfortable, isolated feeling. The acoustics magnify every single solitary breath, a massive empty mansion simulating the quiet of death. My leather boots tap loudly across the grand foyer, creating a terrifying noise that I constantly abhor. There is absolutely zero furniture to absorb the sound, the most deserted interior to ever be found. I call out your specific name into the spiraling stairwell, trapped completely inside this vacant, luxurious hell. The sound waves bounce against the elaborate plaster molding, revealing the absolute emptiness that this house is holding. Rebounding off the completely bare walls, traveling down the terrifyingly vast halls, a vacuum of human presence and warmth, facing the terribly lonely quiet storm. Listening to these haunting hollow echoes, following everywhere the lonely spirit goes, a reverberating reminder of the empty space, haunting this magnificently deserted place. The amplitude multiplies in a massive room, a booming declaration of our quiet doom. We are utterly surrounded by the returning noise. The architecture entirely destroys our poise. The crystal chandelier trembles from the acoustic shock. I stare intensely at the broken stationary clock. My whispered apologies travel all the way upstairs. Nobody in this gigantic unfurnished palace cares. The frequencies collide, emerge into a ghostly hum, waiting for the promised visitors
ones who will never come. I clap my hands just to measure the terrible delay, watching the sonic energy slowly deteriorate away.
The grand ballroom is entirely devoid of any guests, putting my psychological endurance to the greatest tests. I sing a mournful lullaby into the dining corridor. The volume feels 10 times louder than it was before. The reflection of the tone is flawlessly precise, a terrifyingly accurate acoustic device. We cannot hide from the sounds that we create inside this massive, horrifyingly empty real estate. Rebounding off the completely bare walls, traveling down the terrifyingly vast halls, a vacuum of human presence and warmth, facing the terribly lonely quiet storm. Listening to these haunting hollow echoes, following everywhere the lonely spirit goes, a reverberating reminder of the empty space haunting this magnificently deserted place. The amplitude multiplies in the massive room, a booming declaration of our quiet doom. We are utterly surrounded by the returning noise. The architecture entirely destroys our poise. Trap driving was totally insane. Let the decibels finally drop down to zero. There is no rescue and absolutely no hero. Shout out, hear it bounce. Every word, every ounce, coming back. Fade to black. Listening to these haunting hollow echoes, following everywhere the lonely spirit goes, a reverberating reminder of the empty space haunting this magnificently deserted place. The amplitude multiplies in the massive room, a booming declaration of our quiet doom. We are utterly surrounded by the returning noise. The architecture entirely destroys our poise. Nothing is there, just empty air. Close the door, speak no more. Striking the ivory keys with a terrifying brutal force, taking this composition down a highly destructive course. My fingertips are splitting wide open from the heavy impact, refusing to ever surrender or cautiously retract. A crimson stain begins to smear across the whiteboard. The physical price of playing this devastating chord. I pour my literal biology into the aggressive song, proving exactly where my passionate loyalties belong. Gripping the thick neck of the heavy electric bass, A grimace of pure agony spreading across my face. The friction of the slide rips the protective skin away, but I absolutely refuse to stop or hesitate to play.
Hemoglobin drips slowly down the wooden fretboard. My physical limits are being completely ignored. The amplifier rolls with a terrifying distorted mic. I'm sacrificing my anatomy for this track tonight. Laceration stinging with every single beat, generating a massive undeniable body heat. The bandages are soaked and utterly destroyed, filling up the massive musical void. Playing these violently bleeding chords, ignoring the safety that caution affords. A literal wound opening up on the stage, unleashing a beautiful, terrifying rage. The melody demands a heavy bodily toll, extracting the fluid right out of my soul. A scarlet harmony painted on the instrument, showing exactly how our energy is spent.
The drummer splinters, his sticks against the metal crash, resulting in a highly severe superficial gash. He tapes his knuckles tight and keeps the tempo strong, refusing to ever acknowledge that anything is wrong. We sweat profusely under the burning studio lights, pushing our endurance to the most extreme heights. The visceral reality of the music cannot be faked, a massive agonizing risk that we have fully staked.
The microphone stand is entirely slick with my sweat, the most physically demanding performance. Yet I hit the highest vocal register until my throat is raw, ignoring every single biological medical law. The piano hammer strike the strings with a violent thud, mixing the beautiful audio with my literal blood. A masterpiece forged in pure, undeniable agony, the ultimate devastating artistic tragedy. Laceration stinging with every single beat, generating a massive, undeniable body heat. The bandages are soaked and utterly destroyed, filling up the massive musical void. Playing these violently bleeding chords, ignoring the safety that caution affords. A literal wound opening up on the stage, unleashing a beautiful, terrifying rage. The melody demands a heavy bodily toll, extracting the fluid right out of my soul. A scarlet harmony painted on the instrument, showing exactly how our energy is spent. Do not call the medic or stop the tape. We are creating an incredible violent shape. Let the injury fully translate to the sound, the most authentic recording to be found. Tear it, rip it, keep pressing, no stressing, feel the pain. Going insane, playing these violently bleeding chords, ignoring the safety that caution affords. A literal wound opening up on the stage, unleashing a beautiful, terrifying rage. Melody demands a heavy bodily toll, extracting the fluid right out of my soul. A scarlet harmony painted on the instrument, showing exactly how our energy is spent. Wipe the keys, faulting knees, track is done, we have won. Carefully placing the diamond stylus upon the groove, commanding the vintage turntable to flawlessly move. The analog hiss provides a highly comforting bed, for the sophisticated melodies running through my head. The vacuum tubes inside the amplifier begin to glow, producing an incredibly rich, continuous audio flow. I adjust the equalization knobs on the stereo rack, ensuring that this beautiful composition never lacks.
The drummer firmly establishes the permanent pocket, locking the percussion tightly inside the socket. No rush in the tempo and absolutely no dragging behind. A meticulously calculated metric that perfectly aligns. I press my ear against the wooden speaker cone, analyzing the magnificent texture of the baritone. The synchronization of the rhythm section is precise, a flawlessly executed musical slice of paradise. The metronome swings with a constant tick. The guitarist executes a masterful trick, maintaining the pace with absolute grace, securing our spot in the sonic space, keeping the frequency beautifully jazz steady. The ensemble is persistently, permanently ready, a seamless progression of sophisticated chords, winning all the prestigious awards, sailing smoothly upon a constant rhythm, the most reliable performance you could ever crave. Unyielding, unchanging, dependably cool, following every single orchestrational rule. The brassing sings with zero mistakes, delivering perfection on all the studio takes. The pianist glides across the ivory keys with an unprecedented, unbelievable level of ease. The bass frequencies anchor the foundation down, the tightest, most cohesive quartet in the town. We calibrate the microphones to capture the room, eliminating any harshness or unnecessary boom. The fidelity of the recording is spectacularly clear, pleasing the sophisticated, highly critical ear. The magnetic tape captures the authentic sound, the most professional musicians to ever be found. I catalog the album inside my extensive library, a phenomenal addition to the auditory sanctuary. The spindle rotates at 33 revolutions, providing the ultimate rhythmic resolutions. The metronome swings with a constant tick. The guitarist executes a masterful trick, maintaining the pace with absolute grace, securing our spot in this sonic space, keeping the frequency beautifully jazz steady. The ensemble is persistently, permanently ready, a seamless progression of sophisticated chords, winning all the prestigious awards, sailing smoothly upon the constant rhythmic wave. The most reliable performance you could ever crave, unyielding, unchanging, dependably cool, following every single orchestrational rule. Never wavering from the fundamental beat, a remarkably consistent, unbelievable feat. The groove is cemented, the foundation is strong and absolutely flawless. Uninterrupted song. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep it tight, give them more. Keeping the frequency beautifully jazz steady. The ensemble is persistently, permanently ready, a seamless progression of sophisticated chords, winning all the prestigious awards, sailing smoothly upon a constant rhythmic wave. The most reliable performance you could ever crave, unyielding, unchanging, dependably cool, following every single orchestrational rule. Fade the track, do not look back. The record ends to all my friends.
striking the ivory keys with a terrifying brutal force, taking this composition down a highly destructive course. My fingertips are splitting wide open from the heavy impact, refusing to ever surrender or cautiously retract. A crimson stain begins to smear across the whiteboard, the physical price of playing this devastating chord. I pour my literal biology into the aggressive song, proving exactly where my passion and loyalties belong.
Gripping the thick neck of the heavy electric bass, a grimace of pure agony spreading across my face. The friction of the slide rips the protective skin away, but I absolutely refuse to stop or hesitate to play. Hemoglobin drips slowly down the wooden fretboard. My physical limits are being completely ignored. The amplifier roars with a terrifying, distorted might. I'm sacrificing my anatomy for this track tonight. Laceration stinging with every single beat, generating a massive, undeniable body heat. The bandages are soaked and utterly destroyed, filling up the massive musical void. Playing these violently bleeding chords, ignoring the safety that caution affords. A literal wound opening up on the stage, unleashing a beautiful, terrifying rage. The melody demands a heavy bodily toll, extracting the fluid right out of my soul. A scarlet harmony painted on the instrument, showing exactly how our energy is spent. The drummer splinters his sticks against the metal crash, resulting in a highly severe superficial gash. He tapes his knuckles tight and keeps the tempo strong, refusing to ever acknowledge that anything is wrong. We sweat profusely under the burning studio lights, pushing our endurance to the most extreme heights. The visceral reality of the music cannot be faked, a massive agonizing risk that we have fully staked. The microphone stand is entirely slick with my sweat, the most physically demanding performance yet. I hit the highest vocal register until my throat is raw, ignoring every single biological medical law. The piano hammer strike the strings with the violent thud, mixing the beautiful audio with my literal blood. A masterpiece forged in pure, undeniable agony, the ultimate devastating artistic tragedy. Laceration stinging with every single beat, generating a massive, undeniable body heat. The bandages are soaked and utterly destroyed, filling up the massive musical void. Playing these violently bleeding chords, ignoring the safety that caution affords. A literal wound opening up on the stage, unleashing a beautiful, terrifying rage. The melody demands a heavy bodily toll, extracting the fluid right out of
Flipping through the cardboard sleeves inside the thrift boutique, searching for an obscure, incredibly rare antique. The artwork on the cover is faded, yellow and torn, a forgotten masterpiece from before we were even born. I pull the black disc gently from its paper sleeve, discovering a musical treasure that I can barely believe. The format is completely analog, wonderfully authentic, a tangible piece of history, beautifully photogenic.
I wipe the surface gently with a velvet cleaning pad, rescuing the best auditory experience I ever had. Placing the pressing carefully onto the rotating platter, watching the circular motion is all that really matters. The needle drops downward into the microscopic trench, releasing a glorious sound that manages to thoroughly quench my immense thirst for an old school traditional beat, a remarkably warm sensation radiating down the street. Revolution spinning at 45, keeping the ancestral voices alive, spiraling inward toward the center label, vibrating across the wooden table. Listening to this dusty vinyl spin, letting the authentic nostalgia begin, hissing gently in the background space, a beautifully unpolished retrograde. The grooves contain a myriad of secrets, a classic pressing that everyone respects, crackling loudly with every rotation, a timeless analog infatuation. The track skips slightly over a tiny surface scratch, but the underlying melody is impossible to match. I read the liner notes printed on the back cover, learning about the studio musicians and the tragic lover who inspired the lyricist to write this specific tune, recorded under the glow of a 1960s moon. The fidelity is raw, unfiltered, and intensely real, capturing exactly how the original performers feel.
We sit cross-legged on the shag carpet floor, enjoying the ambience and asking for nothing more. The turntable mechanism hums with a quiet drive, making the apartment feel magically alive.
A warm crackle punctuates the quiet instrumental break, a charming imperfection that digital audio cannot fake.
I flip the record over to experience side B, sharing this vintage auditory journey exclusively with me. Revolution spinning at 45, keeping the ancestral voices alive, spiraling inward toward the center label, vibrating across the wooden table. Listening to this dusty vinyl spin, letting the authentic nostalgia begin, hissing gently in the background space, a beautifully unpolished retrograde. The grooves contain a myriad of secrets, a classic pressing that everyone respects, crackling loudly with every rotation, a timeless analog infatuation. Infatuation.
Preserve the wax, protect the groove, watch the stylus effortlessly move, a physical medium that will endure, an auditory experience, raw and pure.
Spin around, catch the sound, side A, press play, hiss and pop, do not stop. Listening to this dusty vinyl spin, letting the authentic nostalgia begin, hissing gently in the background space, a beautifully unpolished retrograde. The grooves contain a myriad of secrets, a classic pressing that everyone respects, crackling loudly with every rotation, a time remains vintage game. Pushing aggressively through the cracked concrete, surviving the harshness of this highly polluted street. The asphalt tries to completely smother the green shoot, but nothing can destroy this remarkably stubborn root. I navigate the crowded sidewalks of the financial district, where the municipal regulations are incredibly strict. A tiny blossom blooms directly beneath the towering skyscraper, defying the restrictive blueprints drawn on the architect's paper.
The subway train violently rattles the pedestrian pavement, trapped inside this massive architectural enslavement. I observe the ivy climbing up the brickwork of the alleyway, reclaiming urban territory day by greedy day. The graffiti murals mimic the vines that we desperately lack, bringing the vibrant colors of the natural ecosystem back. We are metropolitan survivors dwelling in the smoggy haze, navigating our way through this complex municipal maze. Pavement cracking under the immense pressure, finding a highly unconventional natural treasure. Steel and glass blocking out the morning light, but the vegetation refuses to forfeit the fight. Sprouting these resilient urban roots, wearing our scuffed heavy leather boots. A concrete jungle where the wild things grow, fighting the metropolitan undertow. Nature reclaims the abandoned parking lot, flourishing exactly in the hardest spot. A botanical rebellion in the city square, breathing the highly contaminated air. The sanitation trucks rumble past the neon corner store, while the municipal pigeons scavenge the littered floor. I plant a tiny seed inside a rusty coffee tin, determined to let the organic biological process begin. The skyscrapers cast massive, intimidating geometric shadows, replacing the beautiful scenery of the rural meadows. But the subterranean networks are slowly expanding wide, a subterranean revolution that the mayor
cannot hide. We cultivate a rooftop garden above the noisy traffic jam, refusing to participate in the corporate synthetic scam. The smog attempts to choke the delicate sprouting leaves, but the resilient flora miraculously adapts and achieves a remarkable victory against the industrial pollution, the ultimate beautifully organic metropolitan solution. I harvest tomatoes grown beside the tower and billboard sign, intersecting the natural world with the strictly urban line. Pavement cracking under the immense pressure, finding a highly unconventional natural treasure. Steel and glass blocking out the morning light, but the vegetation refuses to forfeit the fight. Sprouting these resilient urban roots, wearing our scuffed heavy leather boots. A concrete jungle where the wild things grow, fighting the metropolitan undertow. Nature reclaims the abandoned parking lot, flourishing exactly in the hardest spot. A botanical rebellion in the city square, breathing the highly contaminated air. you fall. Sprouting these resilient urban roots, wearing our stuffed heavy leather boots. A concrete jungle where the wild beams grow, fighting the metropolitan undertow. Nature reclaims the abandoned parking lot, flourishing exactly in the hardest spot. A botanical rebellion in the city square, breathing the highly contaminated air. Concrete breaks, the city shakes. Roots go deep while you sleep. Forged inside a scorching underground industrial foundry, exceeding every single biological human boundary. My chest cavity contains a highly complex machinery, devoid of any soft, organic, natural greenery.
Heavy pistons pump the pressurized oil through my veins, governing the logic that my robotic mind contains. A meticulously constructed metallic internal engine, operating completely outside of any spiritual dimension. I lubricate the spinning cogs with a heavy grease, ensuring that the mechanical friction will finally cease. Winding up the central mainspring with a rusted key, unlocking the metallurgical engineering inside of me. My anatomy consists entirely of soldered copper pipes, a prototype exceeding all the standard human types. The boiler generates an overwhelming amount of steam, powering this incredibly rigid locomotive dream. Polishing the tarnished heavy alloy, a manufactured completely rigid toy, tightening the bolts and heavy screws, singing these industrial factory blues. Operating with the heavy brass heart, tearing the anatomical theories apart. A clockwork mechanism ticking inside, nowhere for the vulnerabilities to hide. Pumping synthetic fluids through the chest, surviving the ultimate metallurgical test. A completely emotionless ticking machine, the most rigid anatomy you have ever seen. The gears aggressively grind against the inner cage, representing a highly suppressed mechanical rage. I measure the internal pressure with a dial gauge, trapped inside this Victorian technological age. Sparks fly wildly from the central exhaust vent, revealing exactly how my mechanical energy is spent. A highly calibrated, perfectly measured output, with heavy iron anchors bolted to my metallic foot. Oxidation threatens to heavily corrode my framework, the only biological flaw that manages to lurk. I replace the broken valves with the brand new part, protecting the integrity of my manufactured heart. The rhythmic clicking replaces the standard pulse, a structural design that manages to heavily repulse the romantic notions of a soft biological love, constructed from the scrap metal gathered up above. Polishing the tarnished heavy alloy, a manufactured completely rigid toy, tightening the bolts and heavy screws, singing these industrial factory blues. Operating with the heavy brass heart, tearing the anatomical theories apart. A clockwork mechanism ticking
rigid anatomy you have ever seen. The gears stop turning, the coal stops burning, steam escapes, metallic shapes. The porcelain vase slipped right through my trembling hands, crashing violently upon the tiled floor where it currently stands.
A million tiny fragments scatter
Across the kitchen space, a terrible disaster unfolding at a remarkably rapid pace.
I stare downward at the disastrous,
Messy result, feeling the undeniable weight of my own clumsy fault.
the morning light catches the incredibly sharp edges.
A dangerous obstacle course formed on the window ledges.
I fetch the yellow broom and the plastic dustpan, trying to clean this hazardous situation as best as I can. Sweeping the transparent splinters into a little pile, frowning intensely without a single solitary smile. You must put on your thick-soled shoes immediately, otherwise this will end in a medical emergency. The brittle shards are hiding within the carpet threads, a miniature minefield right next to our beds.
Fragility exposed in a singular second, a sudden catastrophe nobody reckoned. A beautiful object reduced to debris, a terrifying fragmented reality, walking cautiously around shattered glass, waiting for the terrible danger to pass, reflecting our faces in a broken mosaic, a situation that feels intensely archaic. Every piece represents a fractured word, the sharpest argument we have ever heard, treading lightly to avoid the severe cut. The door to our safety is abruptly shut.
The mirror in the hallway suffered a similar blow. 7 years of bad luck is all I currently know. I examine my distorted reflection in the cracked pane, a visual representation of our psychological strain. We are surrounded by the remnants of breaking things, listening to the awful sound that the destruction brings. I meticulously pick up the tiniest slivers with a wet towel, while the neighbor's dog begins a terrifying, ominous howl. The crystal goblet tipped over during a frantic fight, adding more dangerous litter to this awful night. A transparent weapon waiting to slice into my heel. You have absolutely no idea how vulnerable I feel. We cannot easily glue these microscopic pieces together, a permanent damage that we must somehow weather. The vacuum cleaner rolls to suck up the invisible threat, the most disastrous, messy evening that we have had yet. Fragility exposed in a singular second, a sudden catastrophe nobody reckoned. The beautiful object reduced to debris, a terrifying fragmented reality, walking cautiously around shattered glass, waiting for the terrible danger to pass, reflecting our faces in a broken mosaic, a situation that feels intensely archaic. Every piece represents a fractured word, the sharpest argument we have ever heard, treading lightly to avoid the severe cut. The door to our safety is abruptly shut. Careful where you place your feet, this destruction is totally complete. Sweep the remnants
disastrous loss where nobody wins. Sweep it up, broken cup, watch your toes, there it goes. Tiny shards, scattered cards, walking cautiously around shattered glass, waiting for the terrible danger to pass, reflecting our faces in a broken mosaic, a situation that feels intensely archaic. Every piece represents a fractured word, the sharpest argument we have ever heard, treading lightly to avoid the severe cut. The door to our safety is abruptly shut. Danger clear, do not fear. Throw it out, end the shout. Dandelions pushing aggressively through the cracked concrete, surviving the harshness of this highly polluted street. The asphalt tries to completely smother the green shoot, but nothing can destroy this remarkably stubborn root. I navigate the crowded sidewalks of the financial district, where the municipal regulations are incredibly strict. A tiny blossom blooms directly beneath the towering skyscraper, defying the restrictive blueprints drawn on the architect's paper.
The subway train violently rattles the pedestrian pavement, trapped inside this massive architectural enslavement. I observe the ivy climbing up the brickwork of the alleyway, reclaiming the urban territory day by gritty day. The graffiti murals mimic the vines that we desperately lack, bringing the vibrant colors of the natural ecosystem back. We are metropolitan survivors dwelling in the smoggy haze, navigating our way through this complex municipal maze. Pavement cracking under the immense pressure, finding a highly unconventional natural treasure. Steel and glass blocking out the morning light, but the vegetation refuses to forfeit the fight. Sprouting these resilient urban roots, wearing our scuffed heavy leather boots. A concrete jungle where the wild things grow, fighting the metropolitan undertow. Nature reclaims the abandoned parking lot, flourishing exactly in the hardest spot. A botanical rebellion in the city square, breathing the highly contaminated air. The sanitation trucks rumble past the neon corner store, while the municipal pigeons scavenge the littered floor. I plant a tiny seed inside a rusted coffee tin, determined to let the organic biological process begin. The skyscrapers cast massive, intimidating geometric shadows, replacing the beautiful scenery of the rural meadows. But the subterranean networks are slowly expanding wide, a subterranean revolution that the mayor cannot hide. We cultivate a rooftop garden above the noisy traffic jam, refusing to participate in the corporate synthetic scam. The smog attempts to choke the delicate sprouting leaves, but the resilient flora miraculously adapts and achieves a remarkable victory against the industrial pollution. The ultimate beautifully organic metropolitan solution. I harvest tomatoes grown beside the towering billboard sign, intersecting the natural world with the strictly urban line. Pavement cracking under the immense pressure, finding a highly unconventional natural treasure. Steel and glass blocking out the morning light, but the vegetation refuses to forfeit the fight. Sprouting these resilient urban roots,
civilization claim the throne. Metropolis will eventually crumble to dust, returning the architecture to ruin and rust. Throw down, break rock, city block, tick-tock, watch it fall. Sprouting these resilient urban roots, wearing off scuffed, heavy leather boots. A concrete jungle where the wild things grow, fighting the metropolitan undertow. Nature reclaims the abandoned parking lot, flourishing exactly in the hardest spot. A botanical rebellion in the city's square, breathing the highly contaminated air. Concrete breaks, the city shakes, roots go deep while you sleep. Concrete breaks. Climbing the creaking staircase to the darkened attic floor, pushing past the cobwebs on the heavy wooden door. I discover the acoustic instrument beneath a moldy sheet, a forgotten piece of history lying right beside my feet. The copper wiring is entirely coated in a nasty orange crust, buried underneath a decade of accumulated dust. I brush the dirt away to inspect the massive damage done, a beautiful creation ruined entirely by the lack of sun.
I grip the tuning pegs, but they refuse to budge or turn, a harsh reminder of the difficult lessons we must learn. The oxidation eats away at the tightly coiled steel, changing the fundamental way this wooden body feels. I apply a drop of lubricant to loosen up the joint, but forcing this connection feels completely beside the point. The neck is severely warped from the humidity and neglect, a structural failure that I totally failed to properly protect. Tension building on the fragile bridge, fingers scraping down the jagged ridge, ignoring the tetanus and the grime, attempting to rewind the hands of time, plucking these incredibly rusty strings, listening to what the decay finally brings. A harsh, abrasive and unpolished vibration, the absolute pinnacle of our deterioration, screeching loudly with a metallic whine, crossing a very dangerous jagged line. No smooth melodies exist in this domain, just the scraping sound of historical pain. The low E wire suddenly snaps and whips across my hand, a violent reaction that I did not initially plan. The remaining five are buzzing against the silver frets, a terrifying symphony of our most profound regrets. I try to strum a major chord, but it comes out completely sour, enduring this terrible dissonance for another brutal hour. The sound hole breathes out a highly suffocating stale air, demonstrating the heavy toll of our terrible wear and tear.
The lacquer is peeling entirely off the hollow frame. Nothing about this resonance will ever be the same. I twist the machine head until the gears violently strip, watching my ultimate control completely and utterly slip. The friction burns the calluses directly off my thumb, leaving my entire appendage temporarily numb. We cannot salvage this horribly degraded, ruined gear. The deterioration is spectacularly severe. Tension building on the fragile bridge, fingers scraping down the jagged ridge, ignoring the tepidness and the grime, attempting to rewind the hands of time, plucking these incredibly rusty strings, listening to what the decay finally brings. A harsh, abrasive, and unpolished vibration, the absolute pinnacle of our deterioration, screeching loudly with a metallic whine, crossing a very dangerous jagged line. No smooth melodies exist in this domain, just the scraping sound of historical pain.